As we've been talking about prayer throughout Lent, we've been talking primarily, I've been talking primarily, about personal prayer and what we're doing with our devotions and how I am praying on my own largely. What we haven't talked much about is corporate prayer, which is what we, generally speaking, call going to church. Of course, being at church is an experience of corporate prayer. We are in prayers of worship and adoration. We are giving prayers of thanksgiving. We are having prayers of petition and intercession for others. There's prayers of confession. So being at church is praying. It is a form of corporate prayer, of us praying together. One of the great glories of Holy Week in our tradition is there are many opportunities, if you want to think about it this way, many opportunities for prayer. There are many opportunities to gather together as a corporate body to be in prayer. And I really want to emphasize or encourage us all to partake in as much of that as possible. We run the risk, to a certain extent, of going from the relative high of Palm Sunday and the triumphal entry of Jesus into Jerusalem to the resurrection without sort of hitting the rather difficult bit that happens in between. Now, as we come to Palm Sunday, we do read the Passion on Palm Sunday as well, so we do get some anticipation of that, but there is a deeper way of entering into that reality. And I really want to recommend we all take as much advantage of that as possible, because there's a sense in entering into that brings a deeper sense and a deeper meaning to Easter. I had this interesting experience many years ago when I was directing a camp, and we had a difficult year at camp that year, and I had to send one of the campers home for a number of reasons that were not good, and it was a profound interruption in the life of the camp that week, and we had to have a sort of a total camp town meeting and talk about it, and it was really it was painful and it was difficult. But on the Friday night of camp, we always would have communion, and we would have communion, and there would be confession, and then there would be the sharing of the peace. These are all sort of teenagers; they're all kind of like, in high school, and that night, as people came in for confession before the sharing of the peace, there was a great sort of corporate confession in the middle of that, and then during the sharing of the peace, an incredible reconciliation that happened between some of the campers and the staff, because they were at odds about having to send this kid home. And it was a very painful week, but that experience of reconciliation was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had of that in a church service. And one of the staff reflected to me afterwards. She said, that would not have been nearly as good if we hadn't had the difficulty partway through. And that's what Holy Week is like. The celebration of Easter is robbed of something if we do not take opportunity to enter into the lament prayers, the grief prayers, the questioning prayers, the sense of what is even happening here prayers that happen through Maundy Thursday and Good Friday and Holy Saturday. That's the reality, and that's why it's a great invitation to be at prayer during Holy Week. And there's lots of opportunities in most churches to be at prayer corporately during Holy Week. So as we think about prayer in sort of the personal sense of our personal prayers, I want to invite us all, particularly during Holy Week, to think of our prayers as corporate prayers and to gather and pray together as we observe and walk with Jesus through his betrayal and death, and then bringing us to the joy of the resurrection. I wish you a blessed Holy Week.